Not long to go until our kickoff here on Talksport 2 between West Brom and Middlesbrough. Let's head back to Nigel Adderley and the former Sheffield United women's forward, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Very intriguing to see how tonight's midfield battle goes. We've seen the two sides warming up. It looks like it might be Bielik and Stiles who hold the middle for West Bromwich Albion this evening. We know about Hayden Hackney and his quality for Middlesbrough. He's been mentioned, actually. His name's been mentioned around his former boss, Michael Carrick, who's, of course, arrived at Manchester United. Just how important is Hayden Hackney to the second half of Middlesbrough's season?
Yeah, it's massive, and when you get your name mentioned, with Premier League clubs as well, that's testament to you as a player and how you're performing. Obviously, I think most Middlesbrough fans want that to quietly go away, and hoping that the big aim for him, which you would think so as captain, is to get Middlesbrough promoted to the Premier League and have that moment and get to the Premier League that way. But he's a wonderful player. He's full of sort of everything that you need to be a midfielder in terms of the quality, but he's also got that tenacity and is a bit old school in that sense. I think it's far too easy now for we all look at technicality, which obviously football's about technical players, but I still love a player that is not afraid to get stuck in, and he's one of those. I'm excited to watch him play.
The midfield, how do you think it will be influenced tonight by the change of shape by West Brom? Because you've got the two players supporting the number 9. Are they going to kind of help out the other two, if you like, and make it a kind of boxed midfield there with just the striker up front on his own in Hegerberg?
Yeah, it could well be. I think that might be the way that they go about it in terms of the box. But look, it's going to be very interesting to see how it works, and in terms of when you look at without going too much into a coaching manual, when you play a 5 at the back, there's lots of different ways you can play it in terms of the straight wing backs. Do you actually have it in possession where it changes, so you go to a 4 at the back, you add sort of that extra player into the midfield, whether that be one of the 3 centre backs, or you can do it sort of a la Pep Guardiola, sort of Enzo Maresca, where one of the wider players goes in and adds that extra body to the midfield. So I'm excited to watch it from that tactical standpoint as well, and see exactly how it's going to work under Eric Ramsey. And it's not going to be perfect now, there's no doubt about that, but how it is tonight and how it evolves is going to be really interesting.
There has to be a kind of newfound optimism from the Baggies fans tonight. For Eric Ramsey, his first game in charge, first game at home, how much does he need his players to harness that good mood? And does that mean he really sends them out there and kind of tells them to go flying out the traps and try and impose themselves on the game in a way that brings that atmosphere even louder?
Yeah, it has to, because for one, at home, that's where their bread and butter has been, because they've been terrible away from home, quite frankly. So they need to continue that home form, but actually make it better. And Nigel mentioned earlier about some of the stats that Ryan Mason used to wheel out in terms of we've run the most, but with what purpose? For me, it needs to be intensity tonight to get the crowd behind them. The players are just walking out now, and you can hear it. The fans, there's the trepidation, but there's also the willingness to want to get behind this new dawn, and you do that by being aggressive and getting on the front foot. And yes, you don't want to leave yourself open, but that intensity is so important tonight.
Well, Borough will be hoping to take the sting out of the Hawthorns this evening. Would be an important victory for them if they can close the gap on the leaders, Coventry. Remember, this game just the start of another exciting weekend of EFL action on Talksport 2. We've got a triple header tomorrow at lunchtime. The leaders, Coventry, will host Leicester in a Midlands derby at 3 p.m. Playoff chasing Hull City visit Southampton, and at 5:30 Swansea City host Birmingham City. But we start our EFL weekend at the Hawthorns, where the Baggies are looking for an instant impact from their new boss, Eric Ramsey. Visitors Middlesbrough out to close the gap on the leaders, Coventry, to just 3 points. Your Coventry team is the former Sheffield United striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk and Talksport's Nigel Adderley.
And Eric Ramsey is on the field at the moment at the Hawthorns, taking the acclaim of the West Bromwich Albion supporters. A really good crowd inside the stadium tonight, despite Albion's position towards the wrong end of the table. There's also a welcoming embrace as well from Kim Hellberg, the Middlesbrough manager. And of course, yet another new era. Eric Ramsey getting his opportunity. He does have plenty of miles on the clock as a relatively young coach. But of course the Championship can be a very unforgiving environment, and the fact that Middlesbrough have been through plenty of decent coaches themselves in recent years without any tangible success is testament to that. The team news for West Brom is very interesting. 3 changes, 2 of those enforced, with Alex Mowat and Jason Malumbi both unavailable due to injury. Christian Bielik, Samuel Illing Jr. and Charlie Taylor come into the side. And it looks like 3 at the back, with Josh Griffiths in goal, Mepham, Phillips and Bielik the back 3. Johnston, who has the highest number of assists in the Championship this season, he will play as a right wing back, with Price and Styles at the heart of midfield, and Taylor on the left, with Grant and Illing Jr. in support of Hegerber in attack. Middlesbrough, of course, roared back to form in the Championship with a 4-0 victory against Southampton before their loss against Fulham in the FA Cup third round. Alan Brown and Alex Gilbert coming to that team for Alex Bangora and Delano Bergsorg. So it's Bryn in goal. Ayling, Malander, Targett and Brown will be the back 4. It'll be Hackney, Morris, Gilbert and Silvera in midfield, with Whittaker alongside Conway in attack. And 2 new signings on the bench for Middlesbrough. Leo Castledine, signed from Chelsea, having had a very good spell with Huddersfield in the first half of the season. And Finn Munro, a fullback, signed from Aston Villa. He too did well in the first half of the season down in League 2 with Swindon. And it will be Middlesbrough who will get the game underway, attacking the Birmingham Road end away to our left-hand side in the first half here at the Hawthorns. Second in the table, looking to close the gap on Coventry at the top to 3 points. Albion beginning in the lower reaches of the table, but still 7 points clear of the relegation places. And Eric Ramsey gets his opportunity in the Championship here tonight. Live on Talksport 2. A terrific start to the footballing weekend here on the home of the EFL, Talksport 2, on a bitterly cold night at the Hawthorns. And it's Borough wearing all red, playing from right to left in the first half. And a long ball played forward by Ayling. And it's headed out of play on the far side by Illing Jr. and it will be a throw-in for Middlesbrough. Once again, it looks like Ayling's playing as one of the central defenders, with Targett playing on this near side, as Gilbert plays it back towards Ayling again. So Brown filling in on the right side of the defence. Now Gilbert. And it does look as though Mikey Johnston is that right wing back on this near side, Courtney, for Albion, and that could be a bit of a risk.
Yeah, it could be, because look, he's a wonderful attacking player, so there's no doubt that he's sort of got the physical attributes to be able to get up and down. But when you're in that position, sometimes you do think defence first. So one, in terms of if he's not used to that, is he going to get caught out defensively? But also, is that going to negate some of his threat and what he's good at in terms of going forward?
It looks like Illing Jr. is playing on the left-hand side as well.
Yeah, is it Bielik that's just dropped into that defensive midfield area? I thought he was going to be one of the 3 centre-backs, but I suppose he will offer good protection in there as well.
As Borough try and come forward with Whittaker on the edge of the penalty area, it's squeezed in field, but Price will try and bring it forward for Albion on the far side, and eventually he's been brought down, and it will be a free kick for West Bromwich Albion. The team who've had so many issues this season.
Just watching Hegerber as well, talking to Grant, and I know players do that all the time anyway in games, but I think that's going to be really important when it's something new. I think having that constant communication on the pitch in the right way is so important.
Griffiths plays it forward from the free kick. 2 minutes played here at the Hawthorns on Talksport 2. West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 0. Borough second in the table, 2 points clear of Ipswich, 6 behind Coventry. Of course, they won their first 4 games under Kim Hellberg and then got 1 point in 4 games to really sum up life in the Championship before that victory. Oh, there's a mistake though by Ayling, and Hegerberg here with a great chance, and the shot is blocked. Bryn with a really good save after Ayling made the error on the edge of the box, and Hegerberg really should have scored. Albion try and come forward again now as Johnston goes down inside the penalty area. There were appeals, but they were quickly waved away by Josh Smith, the referee. But Hegerberg should have given the Eric Ramsey era the perfect start. Yeah, and I think he does too much here. I think he can hit this first time with his right foot, try to be a little bit too clever, get it onto his left foot, but then the moment goes. Don't get me wrong, it's good defensive work in the end to make up for that error at the back, but that should be 1-0 to West Bromwich Albion, there's no doubt. Mepham on this near side, the ground's still buzzing after that. Not quite sure what Luke Ayling was doing, maybe just lost his bearings. But Hegerberg, who is 5 without a goal after 7 in 7, had the opportunity. Now Hegerberg plays it wide to the left-hand side, and Ayling Jr. with the opportunity to attack here. The ball into the penalty area, almost flicked on by Price. Johnston now at the far post, low-driven ball in from him. It's deflected behind off Brown, and Albion have the game's first corner. And listen to this, the noise. They're right behind their side, the fans. And this is where it works so beautifully when you play 3 at the back, because then the wide players, if they're willing to do it, which they were there in terms of Ayling Jr. and Johnston getting forward now, there's always that caveat that if you get forward too quickly, you get caught in the transition, yes, you're going to get caught out, but it gives you that attacking threat, which the Baggies have got at the moment. Styles will take the corner kick on this near side in front of a sizable support who've made the journey down from Teesside this evening to support Middlesbrough. 4.5 minutes played. Styles with the corner, high to the far post, headed away. Bryn, the goalkeeper, ends up in the back of the net there with one of his defenders, and eventually a free kick has been given. In fact, the ball has gone behind again. Another corner kick's been given, I think. I think it has, and this early pressure from West Brom is good in terms of initially they come out the traps, they're aggressive, they're on the front foot, but this is sustained pressure now, and they're using that confidence that they're getting from the new manager, from the crowd. They could top it off with a goal now, it would be the perfect start. Another corner kick for Albion, this time on the far side, the left, and it will be an in-swinger. Hegerberg makes the run towards the near post, tries to glance it on, but in the end the referee has blown his whistle, and I think he blew play dead before the corner kick was taken, to just have words with a number of players inside the 6-yard area about the pushing and pulling that was going on there. And of course, as soon as he finishes talking and turns his back, it will continue once again. Honestly, Nigel, it's my pet peeve. Either book them or give the free kick for the defensive team, or give a penalty, because they will soon stop doing it. But when you keep talking to them, they're just going to keep doing the same thing. Well, everyone's had their warning, and it will be a corner kick for Albion again at the Smethwick end of the Hawthorns. High towards the far post, and it's a real waste. It was overhit and it bounces a couple of times before bobbling almost apologetically over the byline, and it will be a goal kick for Middlesbrough, who've been on the back foot so far in the opening 6 minutes here on Talksport 2, but 0-0 as Aidan Morris has got time to turn and work it wide towards the far side. Brown now forward to Whittaker, tries to flick the ball on for Conway, but Whittaker was offside, and it will be a free kick. And it's the 4th successive meeting between these two, with a different West Bromwich Albion manager in the dugout, which really tells you all you need to know about the changing eras and the lack of success, really, for West Bromwich Albion over a number of years now. Of course, Carlos Corberán did well. He chose to move on of his own accord back to Spain with Valencia, but Tony Mowbray was only a brief liaison with this club once again, and Ryan Mason departing with barely half a season as Johnston comes in field now from the right-hand side, wide towards Price. And now the opportunity to play the ball into the penalty area with Bierlich, but Bierlich, though, plays it wide to Johnston again, and Price has got time to turn, and Isaac Price is another of those players who maybe can fill in various areas, and no one's quite sure what his best position is yet. But at the age of 22, he may still have time on his side. Mepham.
He's got that sort of stature as well, hasn't he, that he can play in a range of positions.
Well, he's lost out here to Ayling. Quickly forward from Gilbert for Middlesbrough. And now it's gathered by Hackney. Infield to Whittaker. Hackney again will try and burst into the penalty area. Left-hand side, but Johnston comes back to clear the ball away, but he's only found target. Hackney again. Back towards Morris. Whittaker made the dart into the area. Morris tries to feed it further wide towards Hackney, just beneath us as we look out from our gantry, slung beneath the roof of the Halfords Lane stand here at the Hawthorns, and it will be a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion.
Well, the clearance wasn't great, but in terms of Mikey Johnston's position in there, should be quite pleased with that. That's the defensive position that he needs to get back into and not neglect. He probably wouldn't have been that far back if he was playing as your traditional winger.
Now Hegerber does well to knock the ball forward here. He'll try and take on the challenge of Malander, but Malander comes back to do just enough, but at the expense of a corner kick again for West Bromwich Albion. They're third in the opening 9 minutes here on Talksport 2. And I have to say, I'm surprised at the number of Albion fans inside the stadium tonight, because of course there have been more than one or two empty blue seats here at home games this season, but they've really come out for the new manager here this evening. Yeah,
and they should like what they've seen so far. I think it's a really positive start. It's very, very early days, but you couldn't ask for a better start from what they've seen from their players and the new manager.
Styles with the in-swinger again, and Brink comes forward. He's lost it, but the shot at the far post from Mepham is swept too high, and it will be a goal kick, but the goalkeeping there from Sol Bryn wasn't convincing.
No, it wasn't, and it's quite an awkward one for Mepham, don't get me wrong, because it bounces, so he's having to hit it on the half volley. Lots of bodies behind him, but in front of him rather, but that's the moment where I think you just need to put your laces through it and hope that maybe it gets through, or it takes a deflection on the way that wrong foots the goalkeeper.
Hackney wide to this far side, and Brown, who was challenged by Grant, but now Addison Malanga, the French central defender's got time to bring it forward. Finding Morris, one of a number of American internationals across both matchday squads here this evening. And it's wide to Silvera. He can come in field again from the right and find Hackney, but he's quickly closed down by Styles, and then Whittaker wants the free kick from Illing Jr., but nothing given, and now it's played forward again towards Silvera. And now Conway on the edge of the penalty area for Middlesbrough. Laid back to Morris. And Ayling finding target. And Borough pretty narrow at the moment as Hackney tries to bring it forward down the right-hand side. Back towards Malinda. And every single Albion player is back defending around their own penalty area. Here is target again. High cross though, looking for Conway, but it's beyond him. He was the only target to hit, and it will be a goal kick.
It's really interesting from West Brom the way they sit in. They've got the 5 at the back, the 2 in the midfield, and they almost then have the 3 up front. And you can see it's very specific. They're in the shape when they're defending, and they've come back almost into their own defensive third. But for me, they have to be more aggressive then in the press, I think. And that might be because this formation's new to them and they're thinking about it and being in the right position, but actually they're not thinking about when the ball comes into a certain area, we have to be aggressive to go and get it. They're aggressive going sort of when they're on the high press, but when they've sat in, not so much.
Illing Jr., the youngster on loan from Aston Villa, he'll try and attack here, low into the near post, and Ayling cut it out before Bryn got there, and it will be a corner kick.
Yeah, and he needed to, Ayling, because as well as I know the goalkeeper was there, but Carlin Grant was just sniffing around, and if that ball gets to him 3 yards out, it's in the back of the net, so really important stop from the defender.
Corner kick on the far side, which Mikey Johnston will take. 9 assists for him so far this season. And with 12 minutes played, West Brom have been the dominant side so far in terms of opportunities. Johnston's corner, Bryn again, this time does well to reach up and claim with both hands under pressure, and he quickly bowls it out towards Silvera. On the far side, he's got support in field from Hackney, and Silvera was taken out there by Styles on the halfway line, and play will be brought back for the free kick.
Well, that'll be the interesting bit for West Brom, because there's been a couple of times where Borough have come out quick when they've been on the attack, West Brom, and they've just looked a little bit at 6s and 7s, and it was the same there. They were fair. It's a good foul from Styles to just halt the momentum of the play, but they looked outnumbered there, West Brom, and they're the moments where they probably will struggle a little bit today, just with the new information that they're being tasked with.
Borough won the corresponding game at the Riverside 2-1 in September. They've won the previous 4 meetings as well. Hayden Hackney was the match winner here in a 1-0 win last season. The Borough in their 9th season in the Championship now, and they've had 2 playoff challenges during that time, and some pretty good managers. Pulis, Woodgate, Warnock, Wilder, Carrick and Edwards have all been in charge during that time, and none of them have been able to deliver what they're looking for, although of course Edwards departed before really giving himself the opportunity, as Silvera tries to come forward on the far side, the Borough right, but he's challenged by Taylor, and it will be a throw-in on the far side for Middlesbrough.
They're being patient, Middlesbrough. They're not panicking too much about the amount of possession that West Brom are having. They're probably expecting this adrenaline, this rush, this bounce from the side, from the fans, and they're being quite calm when they've got the possession, in all fairness.
Eric Ramsey standing arms folded on the edge of the Albion technical area as Borough give the ball away. Illing Jr. forward to Grant, but the challenge quickly comes in from Morris, and it will be a throw-in on the far side. And we talk about the age of coaches, and Eric Ramsey is only 34, but he got his UEFA Pro licence at a very young age, and he's worked with some big clubs and also with the Welsh international setup. As Hegerber steps in before Ayling for Albion and plays it wide to the left of Illing Jr. Further on towards Grant now, on the edge of the penalty area. 2 in the centre, but the cross is cut out by Ayling on the corner of the 6-yard box. And Middlesbrough will bring the ball clear as the temperature begins to drop further on what is now a very, very chilly evening. It's dry, but very cold in the Black Country as Hayden Hackney gathers for Borough once again. 15 minutes played, 0-0. Here on the home of the EFL, Talksport 2. And we've got a triple header of games coming up tomorrow, beginning with Coventry against Leicester. Courtney will be alongside Adam Bridge at 12:30. Southampton against Hull, and then Swansea against Birmingham at 5:30. All those games live and exclusive to national radio here on Talksport 2. Ayling for Borough. Wide to the far side, and Hackney again, who scored in defeat at Fulham in the FA Cup last week. Albion going through eventually on penalties after a 2-2 draw at Swansea, and they've got an away tie at Norwich in round 4 as a high cross in for Borough, headed away by Mepham on the edge of the penalty area, and then Taylor will just be happy to hammer the ball to safety on the far side. And the game has just settled down a touch after quite a frenetic start from Albion.
Yeah, and I think you're always going to expect that. I think Borough as well playing their part now in terms of, you see, moving the ball around the back relatively slowly. And a lot of the time I berate that, but actually I think they're just trying to take the momentum away from West Brom at the moment, which is, in this moment of the game, it's not a bad idea.
Silvera on the far side. Now it's infield again towards Malanda. Ayling. And Ayling's crossfield ball just takes a deflection off Price, but bobbles into the path of target. Morris, though, has been challenged by Price as it's worked back inside, and it will be a free kick for Middlesbrough, midway inside the Albion half. Target now flights the cross in, headed away at the near post by Mepham. And now Ayling on the halfway line. Morris again. Every single player, apart from Sol Bryn, is inside the Albion half at the moment. Target. And now Morris, but it's very congested on the edge of the penalty area. Target's low ball that is blocked by Johnston. And Price will clear, but only as far as Ayling and it will come straight back. Hackney now comes in field from the left, works a 1-2 with Gilbert, but a good challenge by Styles, and Styles now can lead the counter-attack, seeks Hegerberg, but it's a poor ball forward all the way through towards Bryn.
And that's where they're a little bit too deep at times for me, West Brom. I understand that they want to get back in their shape, make it difficult, make it congested. There's a couple of times now where they're trying to get out and they're giving the ball away.
Conway now, wide on this near side, the left. Comes in field, plays it behind Hackney, but it's gathered by Malanda, who then careers it into the body of Hackney, and it breaks kindly for Albion, and the pace of Carlon Grant brings it forward now over the halfway line. Forced to the right-hand side of the penalty area. Hegerberg made the run down the centre, but wasn't seen by Grant, who just holds on to the ball. And now it's back with Johnston again. Quickly in field to Bielik. But now Albion have given themselves the platform to try and attack down the left-hand side with Illing Jr.
Look at Hegerberg though, he was livid, and rightly so, because actually gets on the blind side of Malanda, absolutely busting a gut. He was run 50-60 yards at full pelt to try and keep up with Grant, and as I say, gets the wrong side of the defender, and it wasn't above Grant's ability to play that ball into him, turns it down. And I understand, because you want to get up there with maybe more teammates and try and create a better opportunity, but the problem is by the time then Grant's turned and let the rest of his teammates get up with him, Borough have brought defenders back too, so I think wasted an opportunity there.
And now Ayling with that familiar top knot, plays it wide to the far side, and Brown, the Irish international on loan from Sunderland, did score his first goal for Middlesbrough in the win against Southampton in the previous league game. Now Johnston finding Styles, and Albion are moving the ball around neatly, but that wasn't really the issue for them under Ryan Mason. It was individual errors at key times in games. As Phillips finds Mepham. Mepham will turn and find Johnston, laid back towards Price, laid down the line. Hegerberg though tried to keep the ball in play, but Albion do have the throw in anyway, just in front of the Borough technical area on this near side. And it's a sign of the times and the injuries and lack of options for West Brom that they've got two players on the bench this evening. Cole Deeming, recalled from a loan spell at Truro, and Harry Whitwell, a 20-year-old who's also come back from his time at Forest Green Rovers. So they don't have too many options. No,
lack of depth, and that's probably something realistically, and we heard earlier, didn't we, pre-show, that's probably going to continue in terms of the PSR and the restraints that West Brom are under at the moment. And some of the reason why they've brought Eric Ramsey in, because he's a good coach. He's known to improve one players that he's got, but also have that effect with young players as well. So it's important that he can improve what's there, as well as hopefully they can get one or two in the building. I know they're not going to bring lots of signings in, or really impressive big money signings in West Brom, but there's got to give the manager a little bit of help.
They've got Jed Wallace on the bench this evening. Hasn't played a league game since October the 4th, but did score last week in the FA Cup at Swansea. And can he manage to get Daryl Dike on the field for a regular spell? Because no other West Bromwich Albion manager has been able to do that. And there's clearly a goal scorer and a player in there somewhere. As Borough come forward with 21 minutes played here on Talksport 2. Hackney on the edge of the penalty area, but he's quickly closed down by Bielik. But now Matt Targett finding Conway. Conway steps infield onto the right foot. Back towards Targett. Laid low to Brown, who tried to thread it through the penalty area. In fact, it was Aidan Morris on the edge of the penalty area. Not quite sure who he was trying to find, but he was clearly convinced he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, and it's the way that West Brom have got back into their shape is clearly frustrating Borough at times, because there's so many bodies there, it's so congested. But you see there, when Borough then start to turn it on, it doesn't come off there, but play quickly. They are a little bit of 6s and 7s, West Brom, in that defensive shape. So this will increase now. This will only sort of get worse and worse from a West Brom perspective. Borough will only move the ball with more tempo, quicker. So that's where I think they, in that defensive third, when they're in that shape, they just have to be a little bit more aggressive, because they get back into the shape and they're quite passive. And at the moment it's not worked because it's been so congested. But with the players that Borough have got, they will find a way if West Brom just not keep being quite passive and not aggressive enough in that press.
Ayling coming forward now. And we can see here, just beneath us, Chris Mepham clearly defensively is talking Mikey Johnston through the game, but he's often leaving Conway unmarked. And here is Gilbert now with a low ball through the 6-yard area. The right sort of idea, but nobody on the end of it.
Yeah, it's a great ball, and you're right about that in terms of Mikey Johnston. It's an awkward one for him, because whether it be Conway, he starts actually coming really wide, almost on the touchline, and trying to put both Johnston and Mepham in two minds. You've also then got Gilbert, who was on the ball there, quite happy to spin out, and they're doubling up. So, and you should do that. That's what you should be looking for, is your analysis with Borough. You know that they're playing a different shape, and you're expecting that. So, put the players that aren't used to playing in that position under pressure.
Hackney wins it back on the far side, but it's all very tight, and in the end it goes out of play for a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion, with nearly 24 minutes played here on Talksport 2. Don't forget, tomorrow on Game Day over on Talksport, the Manchester derby, live and exclusive with Rashmin Chowdhury, Sam Matterface and Stuart Pearce at 12:30 on Talksport, followed by Game Day Live with Adrian Durham, and then Game Day Live with Sam on Sunday. We'll have all the goals as they go in from 1:30, as Johnston comes forward now for Albion down the right-hand side, cuts into the penalty area, showed too much of that to Targett though, and Targett won the ball cleanly. And now Gilbert, former West Bromwich Albion academy player, playing in the Borough midfield tonight, and it's back with Ayling once again. You can hear one or two calls for urgency from the Borough fans at the other end of the stadium, because they're seeing their team dominate this game in terms of territory now, but they're not really moving the ball with any pace.
No, they're not. And look, like I said, Borough are making it hard because there's so many bodies. See it now. Every West Brom player is in a third, their defensive third of the pitch, so that's difficult. But when they move it quickly, Borough, they look dangerous. Morris
now, wide towards Targett. And here is Hackney. He strikes the shot, but it's blocked by Bielik, but it spins wide to Morris down the left-hand side. He motors into the penalty area and hits it right-footed, and it wasn't too far away. It whizzed up and over the angle, but I think Josh Griffiths was beaten there.
He had no chance. He hits across it there, Morris, and looked like one of them ones where it starts swerving almost inwards and then coming out. And I just thought for a moment that it was going to nestle in that top right-hand corner. For me, Morris, despite all the numbers that West Brom have got in the box and they make it difficult and congested, he got into the box there far too easily, and that's what I was saying. That's why the Borough fans are frustrated, because at times when they move the ball quickly, Borough, they look really, really good in that final third, but they're just not doing that with enough frequency.
And now Hackney once again. Infield to Silvera, and the Australian turns and goes back towards Brown. He was closed down by Hegerberg. But now Malanda, and Ayling can work it wide to Targett again, the player on loan from Newcastle. And then it's nodded infield by Conway, looking for Whittaker, but the flag's up for offside, and it will be a free kick for West Bromwich Albion. And they've had 30% of the possession so far, Albion, but they've had all of the shots in the game until that one from Morris.
Yeah, and earlier in the game, obviously, they had a lot of corners as well. So I'm not surprised, though, about that, the way that the game started, the energy and adrenaline in the stadium. I think, say, with a new manager, it's probably always going to be with West Brom, and also them being the home team, so there's always be that little bit of impetus. But I think now the game has probably resorted to type in terms of Borough dominating the bulk of the play, but also they have to be better in the final third. They have to move the ball more quickly. I think there's been elements where in transition they could have caught West Brom out a little bit more quickly than they have, so that needs to improve the tempo in their play as well.
In the Scottish Cup tonight, Rangers lead Annan Athletic by 2-0. Bojan Miofsky with both of those goals. And in the Women's FA Cup, West Ham are a goal up at Newcastle. Vivian Asai with a penalty, and although West Ham are the higher ranked team, that's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, his new manager been in terrible form, quite frankly, so any way to get back to winning ways for West Ham will be welcomed.
And now Ayling finding Morris on this near side for Middlesbrough. 27.5 minutes played, and it's still West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 0. The only effort on target, that early chance for Aune Hegerberg. He was sent clean through by the error from Luke Ayling, but a sprawling save made by Sol Bryn. Conway now infield towards Target. Target tries to play it square, but his run was blocked off by Styles, and there's pinball there around the referee, and the referee in the end has stopped play. I think the ball may have hit him.
Yeah, did it hit him? And now there's an argument that...
Whose ball is it?
Yeah, it's definitely a West Brom ball, there's no doubt about that, and it's Borough trying to argue the toss, but you know, as soon as it's the referee, that play gets stopped and go back to the team that had possession.
Both teams have given the ball away with some regularity around the opposition penalty area, and it's back with Josh Griffiths. Only 4 clean sheets in 19 games for him. This is first season as Albion's undisputed number 1, and they've kept only 1 clean sheet in their last 13 games, and that was the win here against Sheffield United. The home form's been pretty good, only 2 home defeats, but they won 3 of their first 4 away games, and since then have lost 10 on the trot, a club record. Ball strikes the hand of Christian Bielik there, but it was accidental, and players allowed to continue on the halfway line, and Johnston has it now for Albion, looking to wriggle away from Morris, but the American gets the challenge in, and it will be a throw-in on this near side. And after a raucous welcome for Eric Ramsey, there's a slightly subdued air around the Hawthorns now. Of course, he's only had a few training sessions with his team, so I think today's more been about man management and motivation.
Yeah, it's about the players, isn't it, at this point in time? There's only so much the manager can do, and as you say, short period of time to try and get the information into the players. It's more about, you know, him learning, I suppose, from their reactions. Can they implement his information that he's tried to get on board so far? And it is a bit subdued, it is a bit dull around the stadium now, but it's just the way sort of the game's reverted to type in that sense, and the way that they came out the traps, you can't sustain that for 90 minutes.
Target will head the ball away on this near side, and now Morris plays it wide towards Gilbert, and as a former player in the first week of a new manager, are you looking to test them out as well and find out what their weaknesses are?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, you've got to try and have that relationship of you're testing them as well as, you know, they're them trying to get that information into you, and as bad as it sounds, you're trying to work out, well, you know, you're coming in telling me this stuff, but what do you know? How can you handle this? How can you handle different situations and different players? So there's certainly sort of that boxing match, I would say, at the start as well. I think especially when it's...
I hope you were like that with Neil Redfern.
No, not with Redders, definitely not with Redders. But that is, you know, in terms of, you know, Eric Ramsey, 34 years old. Yes, he's been at Minnesota, but I think none
of these players will have heard of him.
Exactly, and that's why, you know, a certain, whether rightly or wrongly, it's the way sort of, certainly the way football works. There'll be certain managers that walk in that dressing room and automatically command respect.
Oh, Bryn there had to deal with a back pass in his own 6-yard area. It was played back to him firmly by Target, and it nearly rolled under his foot, but he was able to recover.
Yeah, he slipped. You see now he's gone out to the post, checking his studs.
Now Grant comes forward for Albion, but his cross in from the left-hand side is blocked by Brown, and it will be a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion on the far side, under the big screen between the Smethwick end and the stand, which houses the vast bulk of the Albion support. 13 minutes to play in the first half. 0-0 here. Not too many opportunities so far on the home of the EFL Talksport 2. Now Bielik from the throw-in. Has support from Phillips. And it's all the way back to Mepham on the halfway line, and he'll go all the way back to Griffiths. So from an attacking throw-in by the opposition corner flag. Albion end up with their goalkeeper, who then plays it long downfield, and Ayling heads it down towards Malanda. And West Brom currently 17th coming into this game. They've not finished outside the top 10 in the Championship since they came down in 2018. And they've not finished in the bottom half of the Championship since the year 2000, which was the last time they made as poor a start as they have in this campaign.
The positive is how tight it is in the middle at the moment for the Championship. You know, you put a winning run together rather, and you know. Well,
Wrexham have won 4 games on the trot, and they've shot up the table.
Exactly, and do I think this will happen? No, but it's not inconceivable, even in 17th, that any team in and around sort of West Brom can put a decent run together, and they could even make the playoffs or be somewhere near it. And so, do I think they'll do that? Probably not, but it just shows how quickly it can change.
Isaac Price going through the back of Aidan Morris on the halfway line. It will be a free kick for Middlesbrough. And Eric Ramsey gesticulating on the edge of the technical area, but he's not been a ranter and a raver so far. He's mainly kept a watching brief as Hegerberg brings down Gilbert, and it will be another free kick for Middlesbrough. We've had over 70% of the possession, but no shots on target.
I think they'll be disappointed with that, Borough. Coming into this situation, yes, they know it's always going to be difficult, but the possession they've had certainly should have created more.
Target now brings it forward and finds Gilbert, who sways away from the challenge of Mepham, wide to this left-hand side. Has support from Conway, but Gilbert comes in field himself and now looks to use Morris, and here is Conway with the opportunity to attack Johnston. Back to Hackney. Hackney maybe had the opportunity to hit that right-footed, but finds Morris again. Morris with the cross in, nearly breaks for Conway inside the area, but Mepham does well to recover and hook the ball to safety.
I don't mind that though, because West Brom had 10 players in the box. Hegerberg was the only one, and he was only about 2 yards outside of it. That ball in the box wasn't the best bit, creates a little bit of chaos, and that's what Borough needs to do, a little bit more, take a few more chances.
Now Conway on this near side, only 1 goal since August for him. He finds Hackney, but again there is a blue and white wall ahead of him when he approaches the penalty area. It's back to Morris. Morris with the cross in, headed away well though by the retreating Taylor, who had both Whittaker and Silvera for company at the far post and did well to read that. But now Hackney again, finding Gilbert inside the penalty area, left-hand side. The cross in though was just behind Brown, who was unmarked, but it will come all the way out towards Silvera again, down the right-hand side. He will try and take on Grant. Silvera just delays once, now delivers the cross in, but it's headed away by Taylor, but it's recovered by Brown again, and it's back towards Malanda. Again, we can hear the urgency of the Middlesbrough supporters to get the ball inside the area, but Brown will go back towards Ayling. And now Morris again. And Borough at the moment are camped inside the Albion half, but can they find a route to goal? Gilbert will try and work his way through, but it was Bielik who tracked the run and eventually clips it behind for a corner.
Yeah, it was actually a really clever run by Gilbert. I think it was Morgan Whittaker initially. He was sort of in the same type of area. Started to make his run. He was offside, but actually I think he made the eyes with Gilbert, recognised he dropped back in and just allowed that space for Gilbert to run into, but he was tracked really well by Bielik.
First corner for Borough with 36 minutes played here. And again, Albion have every single player back defending in or around their penalty area. Gilbert completely unmarked on the edge of the D, and it's an outswinger, and it may come all the way out to him. It does, but the bounce of the ball doesn't favour him, so he has to control on the chest and play it square towards Morris. And now Hackney down the line once again for Brown. Brown goes down as if he was fouled by Price, and the assistant on the far side, Paul Hodkinson, agrees that it will be a free kick, better than a corner, down the Borough right.
Yeah, and it was one of those, I think it sort of looked quite awkward the way he fell, but it was because he was trying to move one way, and I think his standing foot of his ankle got clipped, so it maybe looked like he went down quite dramatically, but I definitely think it was a foul.
But this is a really good opportunity for Middlesbrough. They've been a pretty good set-piece team so far this season. Only Sheffield United have scored more goals from corners in the Championship, and this free kick is much better than a corner. Whittaker is over it on the far side along with Hackney. Again, it's a very congested penalty area, and it's Whittaker who plays it short, opens out the angle and curls in the shot, but it's gathered by Griffiths at the near post.
I don't mind the idea. It was the ball, it was to Morris, wasn't it, the set that lets Whittaker down, because it's meant to set in, the ball's then meant to be killed dead, so then Whittaker can get onto that and whip it, but frustrating into him. It was a little bit of a bobbly one. Actually, it was Morris that lets him down with the set, and then that puts paid to that set piece.
Hegerberg is caught offside as he tries to come back and control the ball on his chest, but he shows his frustration, but I think it's also the way the game is going for him and the lack of service he's received so far. Now Target though, into Gilbert, a first-time layoff towards Conway on this near side, but Albion will win it back, and Johnston plays it infield and Styles over the top, and Grant's made a clever run in behind Ayling. Carlin Grant into the penalty area, low shot from him, and it's kept out well by Britt at the near post.
Yeah, he does well in the end, Brim, because I think initially he starts to come off his line and then he backtracks. Lucky that he doesn't get caught in no man's land, and we saw him slip earlier, so I don't know whether sort of that goalmouth slippy, but manages to keep his feet. Grant gets the right side from his perspective of Ayling. I think he can hit that first time while the goalkeeper's still backtracking towards the goal, but that extra touch, one, it takes him a little bit wider, it's more difficult, and it allows the goalkeeper to get set.
Now Conway makes a good run into the penalty area, brings it down, the low shot from him though, left-footed. He was just falling away off balance as he hit it, and it's a comfortable save for Griffiths.
That's better, isn't it? It's a game that's lacked chances, and we've had two on at each end in the last 60 seconds, so that's more like it. Conway does well there, actually brings the ball down, he gets the shot off, it's wider than he would like, and although he hits it relatively well, it wasn't strong enough to beat the goalkeeper.
And players are beginning to slip and slide from both teams. There's a real chill in the air as Ayling slips as he plays it forward, and maybe a dew developing on the pitch as well as Griffiths clears the ball away downfield.
It could be one of them where you start the game and you think it's a certain, whether it be the mixed studs or the moulds, and you say, no, as the game goes on and the weather changes, it can get sort of frosty on the top of the pitch, and it's an awkward one.
Yeah, it was very misty where I live this morning, and you get the feeling it could end up like that by the end of the evening. There's that chill just beginning to hang in the air as Morris comes forward now for Middlesbrough again, driving down the centre, tries to find Whittaker, but he can't bring the ball under control, and sliding out to make the claim was Josh Griffiths. And we have 4.5 minutes to play in the first half here on Talksport 2, and no goals, but both goalkeepers have been worked a bit harder in the last few moments, although Griffiths just lumps it downfield here and puts it nowhere near a West Bromwich Albion shirt. And as a result, Morris brings it forward now for Borough, infield towards Conway, and they execute the 1-2, and Morris can now break into the penalty area, left-hand side, plays it square, but again, it's a poor ball. He doesn't find Silvera, but it's sliced away by Ayling Jr., and it will be a throw-in for Middlesbrough once again.
Just watching Morgan Whittaker speak to Conway, and rightly so, because he needs to open up his body there. When he receives that ball, his body's not open enough. If he does, he can play that into Whittaker that's in a fantastic space, but that's where, for me, Borough need to do better. In the transition, that's where they can exploit West Brom.
Hegerberg, though, picks up a loose ball and finds Grant cutting infield again. He's surrounded by red shirts. He goes down, wants the free kick, but I think he'd lost possession anyway. And Josh Smith, the referee, is not interested. But Albion really living off their home form. 22 of their 31 points have been gained here. But they're under pressure now. Here's an opportunity for Gilbert, who hits it, and it's off the post, but it's an own goal. Middlesbrough gifted the lead. Charlie Taylor, the unlucky man to divert the ball in. And the Eric Ramsey era starts with an own goal from Charlie Taylor. Gilbert with the shot, which came back off the post, and Taylor backtracking. All he could do was slice the ball haplessly into his own net. It's West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 1.
Wow. This is where I've been saying it for most of the game. They need to do better, West Brom. Yes, they've got the shape, they've got bodies back into the third, almost 11 behind the ball. I think it might have been 10 at that time. Hegger was the one that's trying to just stay up and add that little bit of an outlet. But they're not aggressive enough when they go into it. It's fair enough having bodies round the ball, but you have to engage at some point. They've not done that well enough, and Borough finally take advantage of it. It's a good strike. Cannons then off the base of the post, and to be fair to Taylor, I don't think there's too much he can do about that. He just sort of hits him, he tries to react, but that's not on him. But as a whole, that's the issue that's probably permeated the first half, that they've not been made to pay for, West Brom, but now they have.
And Middlesbrough, the only team in the Championship this season not to concede a point whilst ahead. When they've scored the opening goal, it is played 12, won 12. And Albion have it all to do here. 90 seconds before half-time. Charlie Taylor's not scored in the Championship since September of 2015. Never scored for West Brom, but he has now scored for Middlesbrough. And the home team really rocked by that, but that goal was coming because Middlesbrough were just beginning to create those angles around the penalty area.
I think when Borough are in that position and they move it quickly with purpose, we've seen how good they can be, and especially then sort of when there's a lack of probably awareness for West Brom as to where their engagement line is. I think as the half continued, it always looked like it was going to be breached by Borough at some point.
Grant finding Illing Jr. and now Styles inside the area. Illing Jr. hits it across the face of goal and not too far wide.
Well, you know what I like about that? It's a reaction, you know, from West Brom. They're trying to get back into the game as quickly as possible, and at times that the wing backs have worked. Illing Jr., Johnston, actually probably not so much. I think you probably, because he's more attacking minded, he's probably spending a lot of time worrying about the defensive side of it. But Illing Jr. certainly on that side, it has looked a threat when they've got forward, and the link up with Grant especially.
Closing 10 seconds of normal time in the first half. I don't think we'll have too much added time. The Middlesbrough leading by a goal to nil, and there will just be a single added minute. But Alex Gilbert, the former Albion youngster, almost scoring at the Hawthorns, but in the end his shot, the catalyst for the own goal from Charlie Taylor. As Price will now challenge Ayling on the halfway line, and he catches Ayling, and it will be a free kick. And they had the big start under the new manager here, Albion, but in all truth, Courtney, it fizzled out pretty quickly. Yeah,
it did, and I think back to that early chance for Hegger as well. I think if he slots that in the back of the net, which I think he should have done, that probably changes the game to a degree. But since that, I know they've had a couple of opportunities. That one for Carl and Grant, I think he needs to hit that earlier as well to give himself a better opportunity. But Borough have certainly dominated most of the play, and I've seen the difference in terms of West Brom looking defensively solid, but they have to do more.
And that's half time. You can hear one or two grumbles from the home supporters. A new manager, but the same old story in many ways. Albion not creating enough and susceptible at the back, and that was epitomised by the goal just before half time. Alex Gilbert given far too much room around the penalty area. His shot came back off the post, and the unlucky Charlie Taylor sliced the ball into his own net. And the new manager's first half-time team talk now begins with his team a goal down. Half-time at the Hawthorns, West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 1.
Well, slightly harsh on the new manager. Great crowd in the Hawthorns tonight, but some, and only a few, not too happy with what they've seen from their first half performance. Got to say, remember, it's a makeshift side for the Baggies this evening. Looking at the half-time stats, they're actually ahead of Borough on expected goals, 0.55 to 0.40, but Borough have had 69% possession. Both teams have had 5 shots, 2 on target. And really, Courtney Sweetman, Kurt, you have to say it boils down to a moment of bad luck for Charlie Taylor. I mean, there's a little bit of me that thinks he maybe could have at least diverted the ball away from the goal, but I'm probably being a little bit harsh.
Yeah, I think it's like, I understand where you're coming from, but I think when we're sat quite close to it, sat opposite it here, and sort of the ferocity and the pace that the ball comes off the post, that I think it's a really difficult one for him. And I think there's probably 3 moments in the game. There's that, and there's the early chance for Hegerber, and also the one for Carlin Grant, actually, because I think that's a really good opportunity when he gets the wrong side of Ayling. I just think he has to take that on earlier. So I understand sort of the XG, because they've probably had the better chances, but I suppose the overall play and the domination of the possession certainly sits with Borough.
It does, and I expected, I think Nigel referred to it a couple of times, towards the end of the first half, they were beginning to have just a little bit more joy in coming towards the penalty area and being able to play their stuff a little bit, but it's taken some time for them to get to that point in the game where you feel like despite all the possession, that they're truly, on top in terms of making chances. Why earlier than that, at least earlier than that, maybe still to half-time, haven't they been able to turn the really good possession into more clear-cut opportunities? Because
most of the time, Baggies put probably 10 players at least behind the ball, at times 11, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I understand and I appreciate where they are, and they need to start winning games, and they want defensive solidity. And yes, they've gone forward, but I think as that game progressed and Borough earned more possession, Baggies, they dropped closer and closer to their own goal, and that's fine. And you can see they've got a very definitive shape out of possession. So they've got the 5 at the back, the 2 midfield, and then the forward 3. But I kept saying it through the half, and my issue with that is not where they sat necessarily in their shape, but when then Borough got into the final third, they were too passive. If you've got 11 players behind the ball, you can afford to go and be aggressive when you press. And the strange thing is, they did it earlier in the game, Bags, when they were further up the pitch, and realistically that's probably more dangerous to step out of your shape and be more aggressive higher up the pitch, because it's easier for Borough to transition. But they were just far too passive when they had so many players back. So that was an interesting one for me, and still can't quite work that out and understand it. The only thing is it the information from the manager? I don't think so. For me, it sort of spells that they're uncomfortable in that shape, and they're scared to jump out and be aggressive and press, because if they do that, then sort of they're not sure where they are, and maybe they're scared that the teammate doesn't then go and sort of cover their space if not. But actually, I think as the half's gone on, that's caused them more problems, because they've looked too passive in there, and Borough have figured that out and started to move the ball more quickly.
Some early teething problems for Eric Ramsey. Courtney, thank you very much indeed, and Nigel, we'll be back with you very, very shortly. We'll be talking about Courtney's beloved Manchester United very shortly as well. But just to bring you up to date with the scores elsewhere this evening in the Women's FA Cup, West Ham lead Newcastle by 2-0 away from home. Just past the hour mark in that game. They've just got underway in the second half in the Scottish Cup, where Rangers lead Annan Athletic by 2-0. We'll take a short pause. After the break, we'll have second half action of West Brom 0, Middlesbrough 1 on Talksport 2.
Team, kick off at 3, yeah? On my way. I've just picked up my new Nissan Town Store. It's packed with safety features, goalkeeper vibes.
Showing off fans, are we? My Nissan Prima Star's got 8.6 cubic metres of space. So, loading up the footy gear now.
Thought this was a football chat. Try the all-new Nissan Interstar. Comes as a diesel or 100% electric with up to 285-mile range, like me up front. See you there.
Get ready to win with the Nissan Van range, all backed by a 5-year warranty and roadside assistance. Search Nissan Vans and visit your local Nissan Van Centre today.
Warranty terms apply. 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first. EV range figures are for comparability purposes and may not reflect real driving results. Visit nissan.co.uk.
This was made with human intelligence.
And artificial intelligence.
Just like Intuit QuickBooks for accountants and bookkeepers. Why? Because having time to advise your clients on how to grow their business
can become tricky.
So new QuickBooks AI gives you tools
to make client collaboration seamless. It's amazing.
I was going to say that. I'll do it with Intuit QuickBooks.
When life gives you that hump day feeling, Deliveroo gives you the fuel to power through with a top-up shop delivered in as little as 20 minutes. Keep the fridge full with your favourite essentials from Co-op, Morrison's and Sainsbury's. And even better, your fresh and chilled groceries are covered with the freshness promised or your money back. Deliveroo, now just got even better. Geographical restrictions, T's and C's and fees apply. Delivery times vary. See app or web for info.
You're a cop. You find $20 million in a stash house. No witnesses, no cameras. Do you take it? Don't miss The Rip, the new edge-of-your-seat thriller from Netflix.
Move, go!
Starring Matt Damon.
You think I want to jack this rip?
And Ben Affleck.
I don't trust you right now.
A life-changing sum of money that could turn good cops bad. Count the money. Count it again. Count on no one. The Rip, now playing only on Netflix.
Every investor has a future in mind, whether it's seeing your kids through uni or picturing yourself retiring in Tuscany. The hard part can be knowing how to get there. JP Morgan Personal Investing can help you see the path ahead. With our intuitive app, expert support, and 150 years of JP Morgan's investing experience, you can start making more informed investment decisions today. Search JP Morgan Personal Investing. Invest with clarity. Capital at risk.
We interrupt your usual broadcast for something unexpected from Currys.
Excuse me, do you repair Xbox consoles?
Yep, at Currys we've thousands of trained technicians who repair all kinds of tech, even if you didn't buy it here. What's wrong with it?
My 4-year-old put it in the washing machine.
I see.
And do you repair washing machines?
Yep, what's the problem?
My 4-year-old put an Xbox in it.
Of course he did.
And do you repair 4-year-olds?
Come again?
He keeps putting Xboxes in washing machines.
Adorable. There he goes again.
Put that down!
Tech repaired at Currys. Is it really unexpected or just beyond expectations?
Charges apply. See terms online.
Talksport 2, official broadcast partner of the EFL.
How to Win the World Cup is the podcast that breaks down football's biggest tournament with the people who've actually won it. Greats like Cleberson and Emmanuel Petit tell us what it really takes, all the while being interrupted by comedians like Alex Brooker, who's confident he could have done a better job himself. If you love the World Cup, this is the podcast for you. How to Win the World Cup, available now wherever you get your podcasts. No medals required.
On DAB+, online, via the Talksport app and on your smart speaker. Kick-off, live, slide tackling, spontaneous football and fury.
Get stuck in the thoroughly world-famous Kick-Off. Readily discursive and totally immersive.
Award-winning live football commentary. Kick-Off live on Talksport 2.
Welcome to Manchester. It is a rivalry that has never lacked for spice or intrigue. Ready! Low cross, pulls it back towards Balotelli. Right-footed shot, and Mario Balotelli scores! And it's about to heat up again.
Ruben Amorim has been sacked as head coach at Manchester United. Right now, he should obviously be getting behind Michael Carrick. But the wheels 100% should be in motion to find a new full-time manager for Manchester United.
Manchester City 1, Brighton 1.
They've slipped up again. They seem to be putting it on a plate for Arsenal at the moment.
Score goals is part of the stats, or part of something you have to do well. And that is what we miss in these 3 games.
Towards goal, it's in, and it's Sheshko! But it's back to Haaland, point blank range, and there he shows what a goal scorer he can be. And this is turning into a derby day demolition. 3-0 City.
Looking forward for our fans. I know how important it is, and it's a really, really important game for us.
Listening to live commentary of West Brom versus Borough on Talksport 2. Second half to come shortly. Eric Ramsey will want to see his side come from behind in his first game in charge. Kickoff coming soon, as I mentioned. For now, though, we're going to look at what's happening on the Talksport network starting tomorrow with one of the biggest games on the calendar every year, the Manchester Derby. It is live and exclusive on Talksport tomorrow lunchtime as Manchester United host Manchester City in a game that sees the former Borough boss Michael Carrick take over for the first time after being announced as head coach at Old Trafford until the end of the season. So ahead of the game, Michael Carrick was asked what success looks like for him during this period.
I think improvement, I think certainly improvement, helping improve individuals. I think big part of what I really enjoy is improving individuals, and in the end I think if you improve the individuals, we create a better team. So certainly working with the players and improving them with that, I think. Results. That's what it is. There's an element of performance, there's an element of improvement, and there's an element of doing what it takes to win in certain ways and certain occasions. So certainly higher up the league we finish. We want to keep pushing and finishing high up as we possibly can, and we'll see where that takes us.
Well, let's speak to Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, who's inside the Hawthorns and has a love for Manchester United, a bit like myself. We're slightly biased on this conversation. What do you think success for Michael Carrick will be between now and the end of the season?
Well, it's a tough ask, Hugh, but I think it's not out of the realms of possibility. In terms of a massive success for me would be Champions League.
I agree.
I think we're in touching distance of it. There's a possibility there. I think, in improving players and everything around, that I sort of understand it. And maybe there's an element, and you might be the same as me, of what Manchester United maybe was and what it is now is different. So in the past, yes, you always want to improve players, but actually Manchester United is about success and getting Champions League and winning trophies. And it wasn't necessarily a building club. It wasn't a club where you think, right, we bring players in to make them better. Actually, we were bringing the best players in. But I appreciate that now we're in a very different stage of where the club is. So success for me definitely is Champions League football. And yes, we've got it's changed in terms of the type of player we are looking at recruiting, and have also obviously recruited recently. So improving the players that we have, and also a good feeling around the club and confidence. And if he can do all that, then fair credit to him. Do I think he should get the job after that? Probably not. And I like Michael Carrick.
Even if he gets Champions League?
It's so tough though, Hugh, and I like Michael Carrick a lot, and I really like what he did at Borough, but I'm just scared that if that is to be the case, we fall into a very similar trap that we did with Ollie, and then how many months down the line we're sort of in the same position. So it's a tough one, because credit where credit's due. If he gets that, then you'd want, and as a manager in that position, you'd want to be thought to be in that role and position. But I just don't know where the club is anymore. I think we need a solid thought process of where we're going, and that with Amorim always seems strange to me in terms of, it's been spoken about the formation and the fact that only Chelsea have ever sort of won a Premier League with wing backs, and he was very, very clear from day one, I am not changing, I will not fold. And sort of for me to bring him in was a mistake on the club's part, there's no doubt. And I'm not saying that Amorim's not a good coach, but it just didn't suit, I think, where we were going and what we need to achieve. So I like Carrick, I want him to do well, and sort of he's a player of, you'll be similar to me, of my era, where we saw him lifting trophies and winning things, so I want him to do well. But what worries me is the further thought process of where the club goes after this season.
Yeah, it's a huge dilemma for Manchester United. Would be amazing to see him get any sort of result at home to Manchester City tomorrow live on Talksport, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. A Champions League finish for Manchester United is success for them. But I wish Michael Carrick was just a little bit more on the front foot in his press conference a little bit earlier on today, because it was nice. It was a bit too nice for me. I think he should have set out his stall and said that actually success for us this season is a Champions League finish, and that is the aim. They only sit 1 point off the top 5. Brentford just in front of them. They're 3 points off the top 4. Unfortunately, the only way is not up. They could definitely get worse from here, Manchester United. So a big job on the hands for Michael Carrick to get that team into a good shape for a tilt at a place in the Champions League. We are going to have a triple header of championship football for you tomorrow here on Talksport 2 as well. We've got Coventry taking on Leicester City at lunchtime. 3 o'clock we'll have Southampton against Hull. At 5:30 it is Swansea against Birmingham City as well. Game Day Live on Sunday on Talksport is with Sam Matterface. All the goals as they go in from the Premier League, including Wolves against Newcastle and Aston Villa against Everton. And the weekend ends exclusively live on Monday night with Brighton against Bournemouth. Talksport exclusive for you. Adrian Durham, Sam Matterface and the former England midfielder Danny Murphy are with you for that one. Eric Ramsey is back on the bench inside the Hawthorns. A few words with the rest of his coaching staff as the players make their way back out for the second half. I will leave you with the former Sheffield United and Liverpool forward Courtney Sweetman-Kirk and Talksport's Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Hugh. Both teams out for the second half here. Jake Livermore and Carl Bartley, 2 former Albion players, are just being applauded as they make their way to their seats beneath us here as Albion get the second half underway, attacking the Birmingham Road end away to our left-hand side in their blue and white stripes, trailing Middlesbrough in all red by a 1-0 A reminder of the teams again: Albion, Griffiths in goal, Mepham, Phillips and Bielik, Johnston, Price, Styles and Taylor, Grant, Hegerber and Illing Jr. their team. For Middlesbrough, it is Bryn in goal, a back four of Ayling, Malanda, Target and Brown. As a long ball is played forward for Middlesbrough, looking for Silvera, but Illing Jr. will tidy up. Midfield: Hackney, Morris, Silvera and Gilbert, with Conway and Whittaker in attack. No changes to either side at half-time, and I just sense some deflation around the home supporters, Courtney, walking around the stadium at half-time, because they gave their team, the big start. They gave the big welcome for the new manager, and really they've not been outplayed, but they've hardly had the ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the first sort of 10 minutes for sure was positive, and probably continued that way until about 25 minutes, halfway or so through the half, and Borough then really started to control it with possession. Granted, didn't cause too much in terms of issuing Griffiths too much to do, but I just think there's been an element of it's been slow and it's been laboured at times in the defending, and they'll be frustrated with the opportunities in terms of the early one for Hegerber and Carl and Grant that they have created, because they should have scored at least one of those.
Well, Isaac Price has been felled on the far side by Ayling, and it will be a free kick here for West Bromwich Albion. Borough have not kept back-to-back clean sheets in the Championship since the first two games of the season, but they lead here by a 1-0, but they need to defend this free kick right at the start of the second half. Johnston is over this as Albion seek a way back into this game early in the second half. The free kick into the near post is a poor one, and it's cleared away by Conway.
Well, Eric Ramsey will be livid with that, and obviously one of his sort of former live set piece coach, and taking control of that was something that he did, so he'll certainly be looking at that as a way to gain an advantage for West Brom. But if the free kick doesn't even beat the first man, then you can't do too much after that.
And now Bielik will lay it back towards Taylor, whose own goal 3 minutes before half-time divides the two sides here at the Hawthorns on Talksport 2. Styles wide towards Illing Jr. He's got Grant on support on the outside, but the ball didn't really help him out. But Grant is quick enough to keep the ball in play, but then runs into Whittaker, and Whittaker just clips it off Illing Jr. and it will be a throw into Middlesbrough on this near side. And they just look to have that extra dash of quality in key areas so far, Middlesbrough. Of course, if they win this game, they'll be 5 points clear of Ipswich, who are currently third, only 3 behind Coventry, who have the derby against Leicester coming up live on Talksport 2 at 12:30 tomorrow, when Courtney will be alongside Adam Bridge. And we've got a busy day in the Championship with 3 games live and exclusive on the home of the EFL, as Albion have given the ball away to Conway midway inside the Albion half, but the challenge comes in from a retreating Styles, who was caught by Conway, and it will be a free kick for Albion.
And that's where Borough have been frustrating tonight, and the fans that have travelled all this way, in parts of the first half there were jeers because they weren't taking advantage of certain situations, weren't moving the ball quick enough. And again there, Borough, they get the ball back. It was poor from West Brom, a defensive header that goes awry, and they've got the opportunity to penetrate West Brom because they're out of shape, and they don't do that, don't make the right decision. Conway doesn't think quickly enough, and next thing you know, they're out of possession again.
Silvera now robs Illing Jr. and here is Whittaker down the right hand side for Middlesbrough. Now Silvera once again, and Hackney going back towards Brown. 3 o'clock tomorrow we've got Southampton against Hull, with Joe Shannon and Perry Groves, and Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo will bring you Swansea against Birmingham at 5:30. As Whittaker's back heel on the edge of the penalty area, he doesn't quite release Hackney. It's won back by Ayling, but only briefly, and Bielik plays it wide towards Johnston. A crossfield ball from him, seeking out Grant on this near side, but it was under hit, intercepted by Brown, and then Morris was fouled on the halfway line as he tried to play it wide to Conway, It was Johnston who made the challenge. Conway, I think, was claiming he should have been given the advantage, but it's a free kick in the end for Middlesbrough. Josh Smith, our referee here this evening.
Yeah, I don't know whether the referee, for the fact that both players went down in the challenge, was concerned, but I understand why Conway feels frustrated there in a good position, halfway into the West Brom half. Middlesbrough ball, not sure why the referee stopped it.
And now Ayling inside the centre circle for Middlesbrough, finding Brown. But Albion have got through a hell of amount of work without the ball in this game. They've had to, the way they played and the way Middlesbrough have certainly set up to try and dominate the ball. And you just wonder whether it has an impact on them when they do get the ball. There's fatigue there already.
Yeah, and I think you see that, and I always was taught it as fire and ice in terms of the fire to go and get the ball, but then the ice and you play the composure, sort of try and play calmly, and it's hard to do that when you're constantly chasing the game. And you're right, the fatigue sets in, not just physically but also mentally, and I do think you're right, Nigel, we're starting to see that with West Brom.
Now Taylor plays it infield to Phillips, and then Taylor all the way back towards Griffiths, who clears downfield, high to the halfway line. Hegerber again coming back from an offside position, wins the header, but it's a free kick, of course.
And he looks up to the sky, he's frustrated in himself, and I just think this definitely isn't the start to the half they would have wanted. I think a point to prove coming out 1-0 down at home, you think there'd have been more of a reaction, but been really, really sloppy in possession actually in the first 7 or so minutes of this half. Even when they have won the ball back and have decent possession, they seem to give it the ball away quite quickly, and that will be frustrating. But again, that probably plays into the sort of fatigue you're talking about, and just the concentration as well, more than anything. When you're doing things in a slightly different way, it sort of wears on your mind more heavily.
Well, the Middlesbrough fans in good voice at the moment, with their team leading here by 1-0. And I have to say, those of us discussing this game in the press room pre-match were thinking this could be a real cracker, but it could still be, but it's a bit of a slow burner at the moment, as Hegerber once again has to try and control, but he's laid it into the path of Illing Junior, who plays it cross-field to the right, and Johnston, though, is challenged by Conway. Johnston goes flying, but Conway won the ball, and it will only be a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion on the far side.
What I will say is, I think I mentioned it in the first half, Illing Junior certainly, I think, reacting better as playing a wing back rather than Johnston. I think he's struggling with it. He's sort of in constant fight with himself as what's the right position to be in.
Well, he's coming forward now because he's found by Price. And now Price will head towards the corner flag, delivers the ball, then it's blocked by Ayling, and it will be a throw into Albion by the corner flag on the far side.
That's where he's better up the pitch, isn't he, Marky Johnston? And I understand it's square pegs in round holes at the minute. They're struggling, and whether he stays there remains to be seen, or whether it's a case of Eric Ramsey will continue to coach him in that role, but certainly see is something he's struggling with tonight.
And Johnston, as we've seen over many years, is an out-and-out attacking winger, someone who can really engage, but often when he's playing in, say, a 4-2-3-1, you wouldn't really put him down as someone who gets through his defensive work, and now he's primarily a defender in this team.
Yeah, exactly, and I think he's not backing himself, and that's why, because when you put in that position and you're predominantly a more forward-thinking
he's
player,
neither one thing or the other here, is he?
And that's the thing, and then he starts to panic, and then he starts to retreat, but then you've got Mepham on the other side in his ear pushing him higher, because Mepham's going, well, you're in my space, you don't need to be in here. So you're right, he's in this constant state of limbo. He's doing neither job really well.
Here is Illing Junior, hooked on towards Hegerber. He's able to turn on the edge of the penalty area. Left foot shot from him, and Sol makes a good save, going down low to his left-hand side, and he clings on at the second attempt.
It's not a bad strike at all from Hegerber. Probably, 23 yards out? But facing initially away from goal, but quick swivel. That's a good strike on the ball, and causes Bryn more of a problem than I first anticipated.
And Hegerber tries to play it forward now, but in the end it's nodded back by Target towards Sol Bryn, who's able to claim it with a good deal more comfort on this occasion. But at the moment we have played 10 minutes in the second half. West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 1 on Talksport 2. And Middlesbrough are pretty comfortable in this game. They're absorbing sporadic pressure, but when you've got centre forward striking from 23 yards, that really tells you how the game is going.
Exactly, it's a good enough strike, but as you say, Nigel, that's sort of the best that West Brom have got at the moment. I think Borough will be quite happy with that. There'll be an element of, they will want to do a little bit more in the final third. There's no doubt about that. But at the minute, they look comfortable. But 1-0 is never a comfortable scoreline for me.
Illing Jr. coming forward now, wide towards Grant on this near side. He comes in field, lofts a high ball in. Hegerber, though, heavily outnumbered. And again, he jumps for it with two Middlesbrough players. He's got no chance, and it's behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, it's a poor decision by Grant. When he looks up there, he's only got one teammate in the box. As I say, he's man marked effectively by two players. There's another defender in there as well. It just seems a really strange decision, but again, that's probably potentially a little bit of frustration, also maybe a bit of fatigue in the mind.
The home crowd just suggesting that Sol Bryn should get on with things, and now he does, and Hackney can bring it forward here for Middlesbrough, riding the challenges over the halfway line. He's got Conway infield, back now towards Gill, but it's really good football. Whittaker now can break and plays it square towards Silvera. Edge of the penalty, right hand side, low shot from him, brilliant finish from Samuel Silvera, and Middlesbrough take a firm grip on second place in the Championship with a stunning counter-attacking goal. And West Bromwich Albion's big night under Eric Ramsey has now gone sour. West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 2.
Well, they've finally unlocked it, Borough, from what I was saying in the first half about that transition. There were so many opportunities where they could have broke like that in the first half, and for whatever reason they maybe kept possession, wanted to be more relaxed with it, but there you see they break. Hayden Hackney, by the way, does ever so well, jumps past 2 or 3 challenges and then releases the ball. And Silvera, by the way, does extremely well, because it's small margins, but for me the ball from Whittaker, you want it in front of you so you can step onto it, and that doesn't happen for Silvera. He has to adjust his feet, he has to stop for the ball to come to him. But my word, how well does he do his first touch to get the ball out of his feet, and then the strike. We're right behind it here. Wonderful strike, right hand side of the box, probably right on the edge, 18 yards out, strikes it right across the goalkeeper into the side net at the bottom left hand corner. It's a really good goal.
His second goal of the season, 2 goals in 2 games as well for the Australian international. And Middlesbrough leading by 2-0, heading for their 5th successive victory against West Bromwich Albion. A long way to go in the game. Changes will be made very soon by Eric Ramsey. But you can't really see a way back into it for West Brom in this formation, and playing as they have been. But now Johnston will try and bring it forward.
Just watching below us, Jed Wallace definitely coming on. He's stripped off, he's going through all the
could be a triple
pieces.
change.
Yeah, looks like it, and it is that point, to be honest. They've got nothing to lose now. West Brom 2-0 down, so it has to be changes. They have to see a difference.
I think Josh Madger could be coming on soon as well. But the Borough supporters in great voice here, leading by 2-0. Grant at the other end, though, trying to come forward, but it's Malanda who steps in ahead of his goalkeeper Sol Bryn and gets the job done with a big clearance downfield.
You know what, I try that longer ball a bit more, because a couple of times now, and it's been Grant both times, that longer ball over the top, and Bryn there again, he's in absolute no man's land. If Grant gets a touch on that, he's on the edge of his own box, and he keeps getting tempted out, so West Brom need to recognise that.
Albion heading for only their 3rd home defeat of the season. And Middlesbrough have picked them off after being gifted the own goal just before half-time. Now Styles, though, for Albion. Wide to this near side of Illings Jr. The cross in, looking for Hegebo. Crucial header away by Malanda, just in front of him. But now Johnston at the far post, into the nearer post area. A missed kick, though, from Morris, but nobody can get a shot on goal for the home side.
It's a brilliant, brilliant cross in. It's whipped. It's coming back away from the goalkeeper. It's got bags of space on it. I bet Hegebo's eyes lit up. He thought he was going to plant that one in the back of the net. Malanda does ever so well, just gets slides of touches on it, but enough to take it away from Hegebo.
Well, it will be Jed Wallace and Josh Madger who will be coming on. Madger with only one goal so far this season. That was the last winning goal away from home for West Bromwich Albion at Norwich on October the 1st. And a Middlesbrough player goes down inside the area as he tried to challenge Josh Griffiths, but play continues as it's quickly played forward again. Madger has been used primarily from the bench this season. Only 5 starts. This will be his 17th appearance as a sub. And Delano Bergzorg will be coming on soon for Borough as well, as Whittaker clears away on the edge of the penalty area, but Gilbert has lost out to Johnston. Now Callum Styles. And Albion chasing the game here. 2 down at home, 16 minutes into the second half on Talksport 2. Hilling Jr. back towards Taylor. He can loft a left-footed ball into the box looking for Hegebo, but it's cleared away by Malanda. And Middlesbrough will be very happy to soak up a bit of pressure here if they have to, because they've now got that 2-goal lead.
It's certainly not job done by any stretch of the imagination, but they'll feel happy to do that. The intent that West Brom have shown so far, they've looked the most likely when they're lofting those balls over the top or a little bit of a mistake, but I think they're more than happy to defend from crosses. Borough.
Hilling Jr. clips it in towards Hegebo on the edge of the penalty area, doesn't stick with him, spins away from Price, and then Gilbert has been fouled by the retreating Samuel Hilling Jr. and it will be a free kick and maybe the opportunity for both teams to make their changes. And I think there might be a change in shape as well for Albion, because Charlie Taylor has been called across and it's Christian Bielik who will be replaced by Jed Wallace. Wallace making his first appearance in the league since October the 4th. He's had a recurring calf injury. And Ada Hegebo will be replaced by Josh Madger, so that's a straight swap. And then we'll see what happens to the rest of the formation. And the change for Middlesbrough, Alex Gilbert is coming off and Delano Bergzorg is coming on.
As it stands, I think it's like for like for both, potentially. Sorry, not like for like, I think
Wallace is going to be a wing back.
On the right hand side, yeah, he's going to go and be the wing back. Hilling Jr. staying out that side. So Johnston has gone a little bit higher. He's come up to this side of the pitch. We can see on the left hand side with Hilling Jr. He's in front of him.
Might be a back four actually. Hilling Jr. dropping in to his more familiar role as a fullback. And Mepham going across as a fullback maybe on the right, but there are plenty of square pegs in round holes wherever you look. You have to wait and see. Whittaker, and he was taken out on this near side by Taylor, who knew he'd slipped, he was out of the game, so he made sure Whittaker wasn't going past him.
Certainly foul. It'd be really interesting to see how West Brom set this up. It looks like Grant's going to be the highest one now. You'd expect more of a like for like with Madger, but Grant certainly seems to be the one that's more central at the moment.
Mikey Johnston's gone from right wing back to left hand side of midfield. It's a throw in for Middlesbrough. Well, Courtney sorts out how Albion are actually playing. With
easier said than done.
I know, yeah. It could be a back five, could be a back four. I mean, I suppose Wallace is sort of dropping in on that right-hand side, but Johnston has gone completely the opposite side of the field and in a completely different position, but one that may suit his talents.
Yeah, I think that's certainly to bring Johnston out of that role. He looked a bit lost, so that makes sense. I think Jed Wallace, bags of experience, so might be just a little bit more tactically astute to be able to play that role as well. But it's certainly Carlan Grant that's the one through the middle. He's the number 9 rather than you'd expect it more to be a light for Madja, but there's some reason behind it.
Melander will step in before Grant and clear the ball away for Middlesbrough. 66 minutes played here on Talksport 2. West Bromwich Albion 0, Middlesbrough 2. And we're back in the Champions League next week, match week 7. And we begin on Talksport 2 with Bodo Glimt, Manchester City, 5:45 on Tuesday. Tottenham Dortmund is the commentary game on Talksport at 8. We've got Inter Milan against Arsenal here on Talksport 2. And then on Wednesday night, Marseille-Liverpool on Talksport and Newcastle against PSV here on Talksport 2. And there's Europa League action on Thursday, Fenerbahce Aston Villa here on Talksport 2 at 5:45. Braga Forest is on Talksport at 8 o'clock. Now Johnston looking to come forward here for Albion down there left-hand side. Chops infield onto his right foot. Illing Jr. though staying wide. Johnston fires a shot in which actually takes a deflection off Callum Styles and loops up into the penalty area, and Matt Targett will just cushion a header into the arms of Sol Bryn, who has made one reasonable save in the second half to keep out Hegerberg, but not a huge amount else.
It's a save that obviously he had to be there to make, but equally if he didn't make it, I think you'd have been extremely disappointed with your goalkeeper.
And now Price will go back towards Phillips, who finds Madja, and then it's laid in field by Wallace, but he's given the ball away cheaply. And Albion at times now, understandably perhaps, are just being guilty of forcing it slightly, and that will suit Middlesbrough because they know they have them exactly where they want them. Here is Silvera, right towards this near side, and Morris goes down under the challenge of Styles right in front of Kim Hellberg, but no free kick given, and now Jed Wallace can burst down the centre for Albion into the penalty area, but Conway comes back with him, and Conway does well to slide in and make the challenge, and Whittaker can bring it forward now. Bergzorg in towards Whittaker again, back to Bergzorg with short sleeves and gloves inside the centre circle for Middlesbrough, and then it's slowed all the way down to walking pace by Ayling, and Middlesbrough will just continue to maintain their control and squeeze the life out of this West Bromwich Albion performance. Bergzorg in pursuit now down the left-hand side. He'll try and evade the challenge, and he's done so into the penalty area. Phillips holds on to him, and eventually Mepham will be penalised for the shirt pull there. Yellow card for him and a free kick for Middlesbrough.
Yeah, it's great work by Bergzorg initially. He's got the pace to get down that left-hand side, then technical ability to find the ball inside, drive into the box, or try to drive into the box before he was pulled back, and gives Middlesbrough a free kick in a really good area.
A free kick better than a corner. Whittaker is over it, and those Borough supporters in great voice in the Smethwick end, away to our right-hand side. After 1 point in 12, this would be back-to-back wins. Albion will be making more changes very shortly. But Middlesbrough now with the opportunity to take the game away completely. Whittaker with the free kick, high to the far post, the downward header from Melander, and somehow he heads it into the ground and up and over the crossbar inside the 6-yard box.
He does everything right in terms of what you're taught to do. Meet the ball, head it downwards. And initially I didn't know whether it was a phenomenal save from Griffiths, but it's just the fact that he probably connects too well with it into the ground and loops it up over the crossbar from, 3-4 yards out. It's probably harder to do that than it was to score.
If you asked him to do that, there's no way he'd manage it. As Price brings it forward now for Albion, but he's challenged by Targett. And Morris will go back towards Bryn. And he clears downfield up to the halfway line. Taken down by Phillips. And then quickly forward to Grant. Grant goes down. Malander with the challenge, 25 yards up, but no free kick, and Morris has got time to pirouette and bring the ball clear here for Middlesbrough. They've got a trip to Stoke coming up next in the Championship, and then home games against Preston and Norwich. You can hear one or two boos from the home crowd here.
Yeah, they're really not happy, because when I tell you Middlesbrough are walking with it round the back, and normally you say that for a bit of hyperbole, but genuinely they are just walking around with the ball at the back, and West Brom fans, they want the team to go and press to win the ball back.
Well, they are 2-0 down with 19 minutes to play. Johnston coming forward now. Illing Jr. in support. Johnston will try and hit the byline, delivers the cross in, but it's swept away by Hackney. Recovered on the near side by Taylor. George Campbell will be coming on, the American international for Albion. And now Grant on the edge of the penalty area, does well to bring the ball down and hits it right-footed, but too close to Solbrin.
Yeah, it's a neat turn initially as well by Major. He drops the shoulder, he's going to go to the left, but then turns on the outside of his right foot, turns to the right. Good ball into Grant, who gets the first touch right, and the ability that he's got, you think he might test Solbrin just a little bit more than he did.
Johnston now coming forward again. Styles on the edge of the penalty area. Price in towards the challenge of Grant, and Grant has been caught right on the edge of the box. It's a free kick just outside the area.
I think it's the right decision. Obviously the West Brom fans don't agree with me.
Well, they've not had a penalty for 38 games, so they're clearly keen for one, but
I think you can tell by the reaction as well, especially from Grant, that he knew that he was outside the box. I think you'd have certainly got a lot more of a raucous reaction if he thought he was inside the box.
But it's a free kick and a good area here for West Bromwich Albion. And when we're talking inches outside the area, it really is inches. Wallace could take this, Johnston could hit it, so too could Grant, but it'll be a tricky one to get up and over the wall from there.
Yeah, I think it's one of the types of free kicks you've probably got to hit through this, or maybe even try and play it around the side of the wall, because, as you say, it's inches outside the 18-yard box. To get the trajectory, to get it up and over with the right amount of power, it's very, very difficult from that type of range.
I think with the atmosphere around the stadium, if they try to play this around the wall and it doesn't come off, it could get quite ugly. I think someone will be having a shot here.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. I think there's a little bit of space. I mean, how many Middlesbrough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like an 8-player wall.
There's a gap, though, between Bergzorg and Conway.
So who's that Bergzorg? Has been told to come across, so now it's effectively a 9-player wall and one on the edge.
A couple of Albion players also joining that wall as well. Isaac Price does have 5 goals this season, but none since October. He's over this. Wallace and Grant will be the setup. Price drives it brilliantly. What a fantastic free kick from Isaac Price. He curled it around the wall. Bryn had no chance, and Albion are off the mark under their new manager. And with 15 minutes to play, it's West Bromwich Albion 1, Middlesbrough 2.
It's a brilliant little setup as well by West Brom. 3 on the ball in terms of first one's just to pass, it's to set it, it's to change the angle for Price, and then he hits it just cleanly, side foot. There's a little bit of curl on it, but what he knows is if he hits it well enough, there's that many players in front of Solbrin that the goalkeeper's going to have such little time to react, because it was effectively a 10-player wall. He does everything perfectly, and now it's game on.
Change has been made as well. Chris Mepham has gone off. George Campbell has come on. So it is a back four now, without any question, for West Bromwich Albion, with Wallace further forward. Campbell has given the ball away. Silvera is down on this near side for Middlesbrough, but play continues almost around him. And Johnston comes forward now. It's suddenly game on with 15 minutes to play, and Middlesbrough's lead trimmed to 2-1. Johnston was convinced he'd get the ball in play there, but the assistant, Craig Taylor, on this near side disagreed.
Middlesbrough are going to have to handle this now very well. You can hear the noise, the eruption obviously after the goal, but then there's now a bit of hope. There's a bit of belief that they can get another one. They can at least equalise. Maybe they can go and win it. And that's where they're going to be put under bags of pressure. More comfortable probably as well with a four at the back. So it's about Middlesbrough and how they handle this reaction.
Well, they've given the ball away on the far side initially, but the final touch was off an Albion player, and it will be a Borough throw-in. And here it's Whittaker. And of course, West Brom will have to push on here, and there may be gaps at the other end. Brown finding Morris for Middlesbrough. 76 minutes played here on Talksport 2. West Bromwich Albion 1, Middlesbrough 2, just as it was at the hall at the Riverside back in September. Borough have given the ball away on the far side. Wallace coming forward now down the left. He's got Grant making the run down the centre. Madja on towards Wallace. He goes down, but no free kickers. Ayling brings it clear. Ayling was then caught, was he? Not according to the referee. And you can hear the home crowd suddenly back in the game as well. Johnston playing it wide to the far side, and it's quickly clipped on towards Wallace. Wallace drives it low towards the edge of the penalty area. Price with another curler, and it's just wide.
Well, he went for the same technique, looking for that same bottom right-hand corner. He had Solbrin at full stretch. Really good playing. I tell you what, from Jed Wallace, absolutely brilliant, because he looks up, and I think everyone's thinking he's just going to cross the ball in the box and hope for the best, but he doesn't. That little bit of quality, that bit of experience, looks up and finds the cut back. They're getting closer, West Brom.
And Middlesbrough now looking to make hurried changes themselves here. They were looking so comfortable at 2-0, but now it's 2-1, and it's a very different game. Johnston laying it back towards Phillips, and then Taylor will go all the way back towards Griffiths, who hammers it high downfield again. Malanda winning the ball in the air above Grant. And Morris back again towards Ayling. And Malanda tries to play it through, and it was a good ball to Conway, but the shame for Middleton was Conway was offside, and it will be a free kick.
It's ridiculous. I can accept that when the play happens in transition, and maybe the centre forward has ran forward to try and get on the ball, and then he's trying to get back on side, but there's no excuse for Tommy Conway there to be offside.
But it's given the ball back to West Brom. Long time to go in this game, as Illing Jr. chasing forward now, and there's a mistake by Brown. Illing Jr. with a low cross into the area. Malanda got there before Grant, and he had to, or it would have been a tap in for 2-2. Now Taylor, though, is challenged by Conway, but it will be a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion, and all the animation is coming from them now.
We said before the game in the press box, we're all chatting, weren't we, thinking this could be a good game. Well, the game that we wanted and maybe expected has finally arrived.
Here's Madja coming forward now for Albion again. Illing Jr. down the left-hand side, pulls it back towards Madja. It'll come towards Johnston, and Wallace will score! Jed Wallace with the equaliser, and West Bromwich Albion have come from 2 goals down, and Middlesbrough have absolutely blown it here. Wallace with such a calm finish, and from 2-0 down, West Bromwich Albion make it 2-2.
It's absolutely brilliant. The change in formation, there's no doubt it's helped, but then it's the fact that they get that goal back before with the free kick, and then they're chasing the game. They've got that good feeling behind them, and again they get in that area for crossing, and this happened a few times now in the first half. There was no purpose to it. It was just almost a blind ball in the box, whereas this time it's another cutback. Don't get me wrong, Hayden Hackney is slightly unfortunate because when the ball comes in, I think he's looking for Price again, by the way, on the edge of the box. The way that he's landing on the edge of the box is a rival. The timing is spot on. But Hackney gets a foot in. What he doesn't realise is Jed Wallace is behind him. Cool finish. Probably out of all the players of a West Brom persuasion, you want it to land to at the moment, the most experienced one in a moment like this, and just side foots it across Solbrun in the back of the net. What a game we've got now.
Well, Middlesbrough don't know what's hit them here. 2-0 up with 15 minutes to play. Now it's 2-2. And they may have to hold on for a point. Some of their fans are going home and they don't look very happy. Johnston now fighting Madger, but he tries to dig out the ball wide towards Illing Jr. Doesn't get hold of it. But let's be honest, Courtney, teams going for the Premier League, teams going for promotion, if you're playing a team lacking confidence at home and you're 2-0 up, you don't give it away.
No, you don't. You can't forfeit these type of leads. And we spoke about, they've had a tough run of games, and this might be the one that sort of derails their season. They got the win in between, but as you say, when you're 2-0 up against a team that's struggling, regardless of new manager bounce or not, when you've got those 2 goals in your hand, you can't forfeit it, you can't give it away. And look, Middlesbrough still might go on and win this 3-2, who knows, the game could go anyway at the moment, but if they don't go on and win it, it's another, depending on how many points they drop, it's points that have got away from them and they'll be so disappointed.
Well, you can hear the crowd try to urge Middlesbrough to restart the game. Dale Fry has come on for Morgan Whittaker as Bergzorg plays it wide to the far side and Target. And Albion may have to do some defending here. Target infield to Hackney, and now Brown. And Morris plays it all the way back to Dale Fry on the halfway line as Middlesbrough try and rediscover some composure here. 2 goals up with 15 minutes to play. It is now 2-2 with 8 minutes to play.
Well, you can't help but feel there's another goal in it. I mean, what way it will go, you'd say with momentum West Brom, but with them flooding forward now, trying to win it, that will open up gaps for Borough. But you've got to give credit to West Brom to get themselves back into the game. The character they've shown, the thought process of the manager to make subs, to change it, to not be afraid. As we spoke before, he's not necessarily this massively philosophy-based manager in terms of this is the way I play and that's it. He's happy to adapt, he's happy to change to win games, and that's what he's doing so far. And he might have saved the point, it might be more, who knows.
Campbell is forward now down the right-hand side, and he's just unable to keep the ball in play for West Bromwich Albion. And we have 7 minutes to play here on Talksport 2. West Bromwich Albion 2, Middlesbrough 2. And Middlesbrough, a team who've not dropped a point after taking the lead this season, may be doing so here for the first time. And Kim Hellberg would be absolutely furious if that is the case. There's a low cross into their penalty area again, it's cleared away. Price will gather. He's got Illing Jr. in support, but Price will curl it. It's blocked by Fry on the edge of the penalty area. Back out towards Illing Jr. on the left. His low cross rebounds off Ayling, and it will spin against the corner flag on this near side and out of play for a throw-in. It is all Albion here. Price all the way back towards Taylor. And now Price again. Johnston's got the opportunity to jink in field from the left, delivers a high cross in, seeking out Madger, but Solbrun was right behind that. And both teams really going for the winning goal here. This is terrific stuff now.
Yeah, this is what we like to see. This is why we love the Championships. It throws up these sort of occasions, and it may have been a slow start to the game, but this is the end that we all wanted to see.
But if you're Ipswich or Coventry, you'll be absolutely loving this, but maybe not now, as Bergzorg heads it down on the edge of the penalty area, but only finds Campbell. And Wallace will bring the ball away once again for Albion. He was challenged, but it quickly comes in field to Styles. His ball forward will find Grant. Grant looking to poke it into the path of Johnston, but Ayling wins it back here for Middlesbrough. Wide to the far side, and Hayden Hackney the left. And Middlesbrough again just trying to slow things down and take the sting out of the occasion here. But we are inside the final 5 minutes. And if they don't win this game, they will view this as 2 points dropped without any question. 2-0 up with 15 minutes to play. And at the moment, a point maybe the best they can hope for, because Albion really have the bit between their teeth here and they're forcing them back to the halfway line again. Dale Fry, another player who's had his injury problems for Middlesbrough this season. It's Conway again coming back from an offside position, steps in before Phillips but concedes the free kick.
Well, it's berating someone. I think it's the assistant, but again, don't know why. He's got so much promise and ability, Tommy Conway, but we've mentioned it, he's played that many range of positions, and maybe he's being asked to do something that he can't quite do, and it's definitely not working today. He's frustrated.
Taylor for West Brom, fighting Price, who started the comeback with that great free kick. He comes in field and lays it into the path of Johnston, and now Grant looking to burst through inside the penalty area, and Bryn does brilliantly well to not just stop it but also cling onto the ball.
That's the ball though, and I've mentioned it a few times in terms of that ball in behind into Grant, and he doesn't quite get there, and all credit to Sol Bryn. He comes out, he's decisive, and he claims the ball, and he knows if he gets it wrong it's either in the back of the net or it's a penalty. But I do think that is the way in behind Borough. It's one of their weaknesses, and the first couple of times they've done it, Sol Bryn didn't look convincing, although he did there. All credit to the keeper.
Now Phillips, 10 yards inside the Middlesbrough half, wide towards Campbell, and Phillips again, and Albion moving the ball around with much more purpose here. They've looked much more comfortable playing in the back four, to be honest.
Yeah, they certainly haven't. I suppose there's also that caveat, it's just the way that it's changed the momentum in the game, swung with them, so that will also make life easier, but certainly food for thought for the manager.
Well, Bergzorg was in full flight there for Middlesbrough down the far side there left, and he was body checked by Styles, and it will be a yellow card with 2.5 minutes to play here on Talksport 2. Middlesbrough 2 goals up, now pegged back to 2-2. Kim Helberg, their coach, prowling around the technical area, but Eric Ramsey stood next to him will be the happier at the moment. But this is still wide open for both teams to win. Fry back towards Ayling. Morris does well under pressure to squeeze it wide to target. Hackney takes over. And Hackney runs it out of play, but the final touch was off Styles, and it will be a Borough throw-in. 90 seconds of normal time to play. Ayling inside the centre circle for Middlesbrough, looking for support further forward, and in the end he slips, but he's managed to work it through to Hackney, and here is Bergzorg now inside the penalty area left hand side, further wide towards target, laid back towards Morris on the edge of the penalty area, dabbed into the path of Silvera. Silvera with a good ball down the channel for Morris, low shot to the near post, blocked by the legs of Griffiths, and Albion will clear, and it's Carlin Grant in pursuit. Malenda will get there first, and he's done well to hook it away on this near side, and Fry will make sure he gets there before Johnston. Now Silvera. And Middlesbrough with plenty of red shirts forward here. Malanda's got plenty of time to pick out target. All eyes will be on Dean Whitestone, the fourth official, in around 35 seconds. 2-2 the score here on Talksport 2. Silvera in towards Bergzorg with a shot, and Bergzorg has won it in the final minute for Middlesbrough. What a finish at the Hawthorns. Albion coming from 2 goals down, but Delano Bergzorg with a cross shot that was too hot for Griffiths to handle, and Middlesbrough who look to be heading out of this match, have come back to win it in spectacular fashion. West Bromwich Albion 2, Middlesbrough 3.
Well, West Brom gutted, dejected. Look at the Borough players going over behind that goal where they've just scored to celebrate with their fans, because they know this is massive. It's not just about this game, it's about the context of the season and what it means, and to try and halve that deficit, to try and catch Coventry. And it's a really well worked goal, and this is what Borough have been very good at for most of the game in terms of when they've got there. It's moving the ball quickly around the box to try and move West Brom, because yes, they've done well in their shape at times defensively and getting bodies behind the ball, but it's about the quick movement, the quick passing, and then Bergzorg gets that sort of into-out run down the blind side of the defender, right-hand side of the box, close to the post, is probably 10 yards out on the run, and he just hits it first time. He knows that if he hits it well enough across the goalkeeper, he's got no chance, and does just that. It's a really well worked goal from Borough, but West Brom will be absolutely devastated.
Daryl DK will be coming on for Nat Phillips for the 4 minutes of added time, and there'll also be a debut for Middlesbrough for Leo Castledine, the youngster signed from Chelsea. He will be coming on as well, and the referee has also given something to one of the security staff here at the Hawthorns. I think something was thrown in the aftermath of the goal from Bergzorg. Something came on from the crowd, but that's now been taken by the security officer beneath us here. Conway making his slow walk off on this near side, and it will be a debut for Leo Castledine. But really, we've seen the Championship in a nutshell here. Albion coming back from nowhere, looking like the likely winners, and then caught out in the 89th minute. Illing Jr. heads it forward. So Daryl DK, Josh Madger and Carlin Grant are the forward line. And here is Wallace coming forward. Still time for Albion. The cross into that near post, but Malanda will volley the ball out of play, and the Albion supporters leaving in their droves now. But you never know.
You never know. There's still time, and actually the second half to this game has been really good, but that's where you're asking your team to be resilient, and it's maybe you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because West Brom tails are up. They wanted to go and win the game. By doing that, you leave yourself relatively open, and potentially one of the reasons as to why they've conceded late. But then maybe fans might be upset if you don't go for the win and settle for the point. So there's elements of positivity, but most of all, they won the 3 points, West Brom, and looks like that's going to go home with the Borough tonight.
Bryn gathers a long ball forward, and now he can hammer downfield. Well, Eric Ramsey's had a crash course on management life in the Championship this evening. This second half has been a real roller coaster for him, and it looks like it's going to end in defeat as Campbell squeezes it back in field towards Griffiths. And Illing Jr. will try and come forward here down the left-hand side. I think we still have around 2.5 minutes of added time to play as Styles slides in as he lost out to Brown. But now Morris will bring the ball away for Middlesbrough, and the support for Bergzorg on the left-hand side here. Castledine waits in the centre, but it's back out towards Morris, and Bergzorg, I think, will try and stay by the corner flag here, but in the end he's lost out anyway. And Styles will play it forward for West Bromwich Albion. Wallace with the big switch towards this near side. Illing Jr. high, looking for the run of DK, but he's lost out to Ayling. And now Hackney. Ayling again, it's a good ball in field. Silvera in pursuit, but his route to goal has been cut off by Styles. And Wallace will bring it forward here for Albion. Grant maybe just going offside, but the cross into the penalty area, and Malanda does well just to take the sting out of it, and it's swooped on by Bryn.
Well, that should be it. giving it a good go, West Brom, to try and get back into the game, but in the end just seems to be undone by superior quality in the final third.
Taylor going all the way back towards Griffiths. The clock in the stadium showing 95 minutes, but I think we had around 2 minutes following the goal scored to sort out all the celebrations, so there may still be time here for West Bromwich Albion. Only the referee knows, really. Here is Grant coming forward now down the right-hand side. Good challenge, though, by Target. Castledine back towards Morris. Morris coming in field, and Brown back towards Malanda, and Malanda just hammers it up towards the halfway line. Campbell, though, will rise, and it's cleared away by Target. And it's all the way back towards Griffiths, and he's got to hammer the ball forward here very quickly. I don't think there's time. There isn't. Middlesbrough have done it. Somehow they've won this game by 3-2. Defeat for Eric Ramsey in his first match in charge, and the Albion players sink to the turf in desolation. They came from 2 goals down late in the game. They looked like the likely winners, but Delano Bergzorg, with a 90th minute strike, has won the game for Middlesbrough. They cement their position in second place, and West Bromwich Albion have work to do at the other end of the table. They'll take some positives, but overall it is one big negative. West Bromwich Albion 2, Middlesbrough 3.
Well, what a way to get the EFL weekend started. Absolute limbs from the travelling Borough contingent, and heartbreak for Eric Ramsey after his side had shown so much heart to come back in the game. Borough closed the gap on leaders Coventry to 3 points. The Sky Blues host Leicester live on Talksport 2 tomorrow lunchtime, followed by Southampton versus Hull at 3, Swansea Birmingham at 5:30. West Brom have a huge home game against Norwich on Tuesday night. Next time out, Borough go to Stoke on Wednesday evening. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, just how valuable could that Bergzorg goal be?
Yeah, come the end of the season, you don't know the differences that those small margins make, and it could be huge. I think West Brom will obviously feel devastated right now, but the superior quality, I think, in and around the box for Middlesbrough is certainly shown tonight. Great scenes at the moment. They're all going over the Borough players and clapping the fans, and you're right, it was absolute scenes, limbs everywhere when that goal went in, but it was really well crafted, moved the ball quickly, the run by Bergzorg with purpose down the blind side, and then making sure that he hits it first time hard and low across the goalkeeper, and you always give yourself a chance when you do that.
What will Eric Ramsey be feeling right now, do you think?
A lot of things. I think he'll be frustrated, he'll be devastated. There'll probably be an element of looking at himself as well, because it's easy to say in isolation, but they looked a lot better with a 4 at the back, it must be said, and a lot more comfortable with that West Brom. So there will be an element of him looking intrinsically at himself, thinking, did I do the right thing with starting at a 3 at the back? But most of all, frustration. But there'll also be an element of, I want to say pride, I wouldn't go that far, but he'll be looking at certain positives that he can take in the way that they got themselves back into the game, won the players on the pitch, and also some of the changes he made. But overridingly right now, they'll feel absolutely devastated, because they look like the ones after the second goal actually that were going to go and get the third and win it. And yeah, it's a long way up the table right now, isn't it? And especially when you lose in that way, there's ways to lose football games, or certain feelings that you have, and feeling that you're back in it and then losing, it's the same outcome, but I can trust me as a player that hurt, and a manager, that hurts just that little bit more.
And yet you've got to take the positives of coming back from 2 goals down. I think he would have learned something about his players in that regard, because obviously he's been hired to come into a team that hasn't had great results, that clearly should be higher up in the table, they feel, particularly in terms of the quality that they have in that squad. He would have learned a lot about his players' desire to move up the table tonight.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would have been easy, and for them to go 2-0 down and look at their position in the table and think, nah, that's game over, and look at where Middlesbrough are. But they fought, they got themselves back into it. Actually, some really nice pieces of play in a lot of the back end of that second half as well. Looked really dangerous, and I think especially Jed Wallace coming on, I thought he was excellent. The quality that he possesses, but also that little bit of experience that he showed as well. So there will be positives to take. It's hard to feel that now, but when they do the analysis and when they review, there's certainly positives there, and the character I think that they showed is something that I think is, especially in the position that they're in, an overwhelming positive right now, but that has to translate into winning games.
They're 7 points above the drop zone, 7 points above Norwich, who they host next on Tuesday. Norwich going to Wrexham tomorrow. I mean, if they could get a win away at Wrexham, which would be very tough, as we know, the gap's only 4 ahead of the game at the Hawthorns in midweek. At any rate, do you think it's must win for West Brom?
Do I go as far as must win? I don't know, maybe it's slightly early to say, but we're now getting into, obviously we're in 2026, we're starting to get closer to the end of the season. I mean, what cliches can we use? Must win, 6 points, or all those ones, but it's important, let's put it that way. It's a really important game, and they will feel a lot better if they win that game, there's no doubt.
Courtney Sweetman, Kurt, Nigel Adderley, thank you for once again giving us a fantastic commentary on Talksport 2 this evening. Great drama as always in the Championship, and a big win for Middlesbrough, 3-2 over West Brom. Elsewhere tonight in the Women's FA Cup, West Ham went to Newcastle and won by 3-0, and in the Scottish Cup, Rangers beat Annan 5-0 at Ibrox. Up next on Talksport 2, PGA Tour Golf live from Hawaii, but Eric Ramsey's first game as Baggy's boss ends in heartbreak. Delano Bergzog, the hero for Borough, who closed the gap on leaders Coventry to just 3 points. It's finished live on Talksport 2, West Brom 2, Middlesbrough 3.